It was 1999, March 17th, when everyone in the Wayburgs Studies campus started to feel unease with the school's weird activity going on at the time. Specifically with one of the school's lockers, Locker 106, which has gotten so conspicuous. People started to draw markings on the locker. Some people would even make up creepy, diabolical stories about it. The thing about Locker 106 was its awful stench and rotten stains. It had an awful smell, like decaying fruits for some reason, and stains that seeped through the louvers, which also caused a large stain on the floor. By this time, nobody had their lockers closer than 2 lockers away from 106. The smell and feeling of that locker is why people avoid being so close to it. The locker wouldn't even open. It was sealed shut, which made it impossible for even engineers to open it. Some people even recall hearing taps and scratches coming from inside the locker, and even 2 pair of eyes staring lifelessly in the louvers if you looked inside at a certain angle. Our school's hallways were wide enough where it wouldn't get crowded, so it was easy to stay away from the locker. However, the location of our school was upstate in Wayburgs, right across a random dark forest with tall trees. Our hallway lights in the school was also really dim, which already made our school eerie enough. Our principal, Mr. Beanson, doesn't talk about it much. He's often silent when we talk about the locker often, always trying to go around it. Some people says that he may know what's inside. He's only sent engineers to try to open it once, but never again. So we stopped coming to him. I had locker 142, which wasn't too far from locker 106, but far enough for me to be content. After all, it wasn't like I was going anywhere near that locker to see if anything was true. There was this other girl in the school named Hannah, but she was very quiet. A lot of people tried talking to her, but she was often very vague and always wants to end conversations quickly. She was well known in the school for her quiet behavior, but it was never looked at as weird since she never does anything weird. I've never spoken to her, though. However, nobody has ever seen her in class, only in the hallways, which was pretty strange. Sometimes we see her stare inside the classes, and when asked what she's doing, she usually says she's going to class, which I guess is a little weird, but I don't pay attention to her much to care. One day I was going through my locker when after Mr. Beanson came up to me. Of course he scared me, but that isn't the problem. He greeted me but had something really important for me to do. He was moving my locker closer to 106 because some wall repairment had to be done near my current locker. He said it's temporary and I should be moving back to my locker in a day or 2. While I tried to ask him if I could get a different locker to use because of the rumors built on locker 106, he told me not to worry about it and that it was all fake, and left afterwards. At this point, I really had no other choice other than to move, so I moved all my things into locker 104, and that's when I had my first interaction with Hannah. She seemed like she knew something. What she said was pretty accurate, but as I turned around, I saw something deeply terrifying. Now it was true. There really was 2 eyes glazing from inside the locker, and you could only see it from this angle. No other angle. They were bloodshot, and the only way to not see them was to not look from that angle. As shocked as I was, I tried to forget about it for the rest of the day. A few hours later, I was in an after-school prep. It was just me and a few other students. I realized that I had forgotten my beans in my locker, so I asked my professor if I can go get them. He nodded. While I was heading to my locker, I heard some noises coming from locker 106. It was like faint knocking, as if someone was trying to break free. The knocking lasted about 17 seconds. I just stood there since I found it intriguing. Nothing made sense. I started to think if someone was trapped in there, but it wouldn't explain the rotten smell or why they wouldn't shout for help. But I still didn't want to know. I was only here for one day, then I can go back to my locker. A while later, I was home trying to complete some homework. I still couldn't forget what I've experienced today. The knocking, the faint whisper, the smell. It was unbelievably awful. It was so bad I almost stayed up the whole night. But I realized that I fell asleep around my desk. It didn't bother me at all, though, since at least I've gotten some sleep. On my way back to school, I did not expect to see what I saw at all. There were police cars, town news, and a few parents surrounding the front of the school that morning. A few kids were already outside, crying to their parents and racing back home. Nevertheless, it seemed very strange. And I didn't know what was going on at all until I saw Mr. Beanson, our principal, being cuffed and carried out of the school. There wasn't much context for why the police were taking him. Everyone just seemed really disturbed. And me, already 20 minutes late, stood there like I was welded to the ground. A friend of mine, who already knew what happened, came up to me and said the locker was open. That was it. She seemed really disturbed, confused, and emotionless after she said that, and she just walked off. I wanted to check it out. I managed to get inside the school before it was evacuated, and saw a few people still staring at the locker in horror. Everyone was in shock, and some people covered their nose to block the smell. The locker was wide open, and it was clear whatever was inside disgusted a lot of people. And as I approached the locker, I definitely regretted it instantly. The smell and the scene was not only disgusting, but terrifying. What was in the locker turned out to be Hannah's corpse, which was weird because everyone saw Hannah every day. And locker 106 has always been a mystery while she was around. It threw everyone off since it didn't make any sense. Her injuries were comparable to falling off a building. The janitor said that she was cleaning up when she suddenly just came upon the locker, wide open. I personally couldn't handle it. I felt like I had to throw up. So I went outside and collapsed and started retching and puked. I figured I might as well go home now, since the school would be shut down for investigations. Now, of course, my parents were confused at first as to why I came home so early, but I didn't bother to tell them anything, and they figured I needed space. I still was very confused that morning. I know others were too. Nobody still knows what exactly happened. Some say it was just a murder case involving Mr. Beanson. Others believe something superstitious or paranormal occurred, but it would just remain an unsolved case for Wayburgs, perhaps forever.